Over to the U.S. now, where President Donald Trump says he's blocking nearly $5 billion in foreign aid already approved by Congress, setting up a potential showdown with lawmakers. The White House says the cuts, which amount to $4.9 billion, target funds from the State Department and USAID and will prevent fraud and waste. Democrats call the move illegal and warn it could push the U.S. government toward another shutdown in September. Roig was formerly with the U.S. Department of State and a coordinator with USAID. He's now with a nonprofit organization, the Seattle International Foundation. Welcome to our show. There appear to be two issues here, the purpose of this funding and the way in which it's being cut. So let's start with the money itself, $4.9 billion. Help us understand what this money was intended to do.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation. And so, this funding was meant to provide support for peacekeeping operations, for development assistance to support democratic allies. It was also funding for humanitarian assistance. So, essentially critical funding at this moment that's going to be obviously revoked. But the main concern here is that it's potentially unlawful, and this also is going through a litigation process here in the courts. So we'll see whether this actually goes through or not. But I think the major concern also is that it potentially creates more tension in the Congress here, particularly as we're facing a deadline of October 1st in terms of the negotiations and a potential shutdown.
I want to touch on that legal aspect in just a moment. But first, Trump says that there is waste and fraud potentially here. How should we look at this?
Well, first of all, of course, we need accountability. Nobody wants taxpayer dollars wasted. But the reality is that U.S. foreign aid programs have always been the most scrutinized and audited in government, right? So the bigger story here is not fraud, it's actually effectiveness. Foreign aid has saved millions of lives from HIV/AIDS. It's prevented mass migration crises, and it's also supported democratic allies. So from my perspective, cutting it undermines American interests more than it tackles waste. If we really want to talk about waste, let's talk about Trump's big, beautiful bill, which is actually going to add $3 trillion to the national debt, right? So foreign aid at $5 billion in terms of this rescission is not a huge amount of funding. Let's not forget that foreign aid is actually only 1% of the total national budget.
All right, that big, beautiful bill being the tax and spending bill that Trump approved recently after Congress approved it. You already said this. The bigger issue here might be that Congress has already made the decision to dedicate that money, which typically leaves it out of president's hands. Is Trump's maneuver actually legal?
Well, this is the question. Even the Senate's top Republican appropriator, Maine Senator Susan Collins, has said that any effort to rescind appropriated funds without congressional approval is a clear violation of the law, right? So there are many legal concerns here. That's why this is still being litigated here in the courts. It's actually now going to supercharge the legal fight, which is back in the hands of U.S. District Judge Amir Ali, who's a Biden era appointee who previously found that the administration's withholding of U.S. funds to be illegal on multiple grounds. So we expect that this federal judge, Ali, he'll rule quickly on whether there are other bases to order the administration to restore the funding, including whether the cuts were arbitrary and capricious under the law.
Does Congress have any other recourse in this fight outside of the courts, essentially?
Well, this is a challenge. This is why we, suspect that it's going to create more tension overall with regards to the budget negotiations that are going to be taking place. And so, the potential showdown here that the government will be actually closed down is very real because of this type of action that's being taken. Rumors are that the OMB director, Russell Vought, is planning to do more of these type of pocket rescissions. And so, we could see a real showdown, and it has implications overall for the U.S. economy and what happens with regards to the negotiations over the larger budget.
All right, that's Roig with the Seattle International Foundation. Thank you.
Great, thank you.